We talk about depression. Depression, which is also very common and a very salient psychological disorder, is there because people may not know when they slip into depression. It's a bit masked. Yes, it's a bit masked. People don't talk about depression because you see an average adult telling you that depression is because you are not strong mentally. You are not strong. That's why you will be depressed. But that is not how it is. People are depressed, sometimes sometimes hide their symptoms, and nobody is really aware of what is going on.
So, but you made a very strong statement. You said that people can slip into depression without them knowing. How will one be depressed and the person won't know?
Yes, you slip into depression not knowing because you don't know the criteria for making depression. That is what I mean by slipping into depression without their knowing,
So
their
tell
knowledge.
us.
There are some criteria in which you use to make depression. In psychiatric practice, we have mild, moderate, and severe. Each aspect of it have their own various criteria. I am not going to start dwelling into what makes each, but generally, the three main things you look out for in a depressed individual is number one, persistent unhappiness, low energy, and reduced interest in pleasurable activities. Those are just the common three key features. And then with a myriad of other supportive symptoms.
Okay. You mentioned also something I think I missed out on, affective, when you were talking about the mental health disorders. Affective, I think you added something else to that disorder. I don't know.
Yeah. When we talk about affective disorders, we have that depression, mania, and what people call bipolar illnesses are all classified under the affective disorders.
What's the difference between mania and bipolar disorder?
Okay, so talking about mania is at the end of one pole of the bipolar disorders. So when you talk about bipolar is two poles. One end you are depressed, one end you are manic. Okay, so you could have only depression on one aspect, and you could have mania only on one aspect.
Then you can have both.
Oh,
that's why now bipolar.
Okay.
Very, very, very. They talked about anxiety. Is it anxiety?
Yeah, they have anxiety disorders, which could, it's also common. They are also under that anxiety. That's a classical name. There are so many other subdivisions under the anxiety disorders. But generally, a lot of people have what we call panic attack, anxiety issues, which also will be diagnosed when you come to see a specialist in the hospital.
What triggers panic attack?
Well, we will not really say something triggers panic attack. The issue there is that sometimes you just find out, I'm in certain areas and I find out I cannot breathe well. I find out I have chest pain. I find out I'm sweating. I find out that I'm now gasping for breath, and it may be related to some particular areas or places you go to or conditions you are in at a point in time, and you experience such things. So there really may not be one particular thing that can trigger a panic attack in everybody. All individuals experience panic attack in different forms.
So can it be traced? So it cannot be traced to anything now.
But no.
Can it be genetic?
Yeah, there can be a genetic role. Yeah, it's also apart from the fact that studies have shown that people who have had parents who have had panic attacks, it could also develop in the children. So there are other reasons why one could have a panic attack. Now, all come under anxiety disorders.
Then you also talk about eating disorders and
so many of them. I don't know. I don't think I mentioned the drug abuse.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's it is mental health disorders.
Yes, you could have psychotic disorders that are as a result of substance abuse.
Wow.
Yeah, that's also a big problem right now in our country.
Okay, so the disorders, they are numerous, like you said. So we
numerous.
can go
It's almost,
another hour. We can go an
it's
hour
almost, there
talking
are
about them and
thousands
them.
of them.
So now, how can mental health be preserved? Now, after knowing all
Mm.
these, the early signs, knowing mental disorders, someone watching this right now is thinking like, okay, I think I'm beginning to have early signs of this. So how can it be preserved? There's someone is like, man, for the past 1 month, 2 months, the stress has been telling on me. I need to preserve my mental health. Or I need to put myself in check so I don't go into these mental health conditions. How can mental health be preserved?
Okay. When you say mental health preserved, it doesn't really.
Okay, with the positive mental health.
Yeah. Okay. Preserve your mental health.
Health.
Can you really? Okay. When you say preserve your mental,
So
let's
you will
say
not fall
for
into
me,
any
I
of this.
still feel
Mm.
it's almost like saying, how can I preserve my physical health? Basically, you just do things that are right. You eat well, you know, you stay with good company, you
Eating
know.
affects mental health.
Yeah, when you don't eat well, when you find out that you cannot meet up with your day to day, you work hard throughout the day, you go back home, no food, those things will bother you. It's not about the it's not about the type of food generally, but the fact that you're able to meet up your daily demand.
Mm.
Okay, exercise regularly, ensure that you don't you try not to allow things to bother you. Like the Bible will say, when you go home, you don't let was it maybe you don't let anger last the next day.
Don't let the sun go
uh,
down on your
yes,
anger.
until something about that. And I work on that a lot. I just tell myself, this thing, because there's nothing, we all face problems every day. Even right now, you could just come out now and somebody is just killed outside. Nobody knows when the next stressful event is coming up. You just tell yourself, I would not allow this bother me today. You go back home, you rest yourself. The next day, you pick yourself on and you give yourself a positive mindset that I will not allow yesterday's problems to weigh me down for the next day. So, apart from eating, doing exercises, you also ensure that you don't allow stressful issues that are occurring currently to weigh you down. Okay. They also talk about ensuring that you don't use so
Hard
much.
drugs.
There's a
Don't
lot
abuse
of
hard drugs.
drugs. There's children these days, because of peer influence, they tend to overuse hard drugs. Not just overuse, sorry, they tend to indulge in the use of so many drugs, both alcohol, cocaine, cannabis, amphetamine. There's so many synthetic medications being produced or synthesized on a daily basis now. So we try to make sure that you do not allow yourself to be carried away by peer group influence. So all these are all manners and ways in which you can, on your own, try to preserve your mental health. But the government, on its own too, should always put in place a very uh, secure, rapid response agency in terms of stress. Let's say, for example, now somebody's house is burnt. There should be an area where people are relocated in the short term before they are able to get themselves together and get their selves fixed up. Somebody, for example, we have the challenge we face in Nigeria now, Boko Haram. People are running away from their homes. At the end of the day, nowhere to go to. So the emergency
Talking about
services,
IDP camps.
yes, IDP camps, which may not even be up to date. So where do people go to when they have issues like this? So the government has a very big role to play in ensuring that a lot of things are put in place to also help the individual preserve his mental health. I'm very sure that if you go to any IDP camp right now to speak, a lot of people are going through a lot of psychological issues there. A lot of psychological issues as a result of the challenges they're facing right there in the camp. Many of them have not come to terms with the fact that there's a lot of change going on. Things are not going to be the same again. You understand? You have lost your family, you have lost your loved ones, you have lost your livelihood. How do I pick myself up?
So is there a role of, is it mental health education is that get to or is it the role of the psychologist now to psych these people up going through stuff like this?
When you have cases like this, you are supposed to have what we call a mental health response team,
Okay.
which comprises of both the psychiatrist, the clinical psychologist, social welfare worker, occupational therapist, spiritual therapist. Is quite a huge, a huge team. It's quite huge, so that at any point in time you can have access to them. Okay, they can be deployed quickly in any part of the country at any point in time. Some multinational companies, which I've had cause to work with once in a while, if there is a, let's say one of these offshore companies now, somebody, let's call it like a suicide attempt, or there was a suicide, there must be a psychiatric team that must go for to do what we call debriefing for all the staff. That's in an environment where things work. So when you have a psychological response team, at every point in time, they are there to give you whatever you desire. So they should be there in place.
Okay, so now you've talked extensively on how mental health can be preserved.